everybody, Ty here again. One thing that I haven't mentioned quite as much because I was still a little bit uncertain about it at this point. Some models were picking up on it, some weren't. Where it was this little wintry system that's now begun to develop here. We're starting to actually see some areas of snow beginning to develop around the northwest, and even winter storm watches stretching as far to the east as North Dakota here. But the bullseye, we're really expecting to see a bullseye more so over Montana at this point, especially central Montana, but also we can't disinclude areas such as eastern Washington, central Washington, and maybe even some parts of Oregon coming into play here. Also, Idaho looks like they're in the mix here as well. But this could be the first of multiple wintry systems, maybe even a couple of winter storms aren't off the table as far as snow is concerned, maybe also ice as well. No ice storm warnings, thankfully, but this is what we could be seeing throughout the course of the year. So make sure you smash that like button, and also make sure you're hitting that bell on after you hit that subscribe button as well. Make sure that you get notified of the latest here. But we'll go ahead and take a look at what the radar is looking like right now. And we can see that snow really starting to build up more so over towards Montana. Not really a surprise here. But as we go a little bit further to the east here, I would expect these snowfall totals to really start to develop here. What we're looking at right now is actually the temperature maps, but snow as of right now has been pretty light, so nothing to really report on totals as of yet. But once we get east of Great Falls here, I'm anticipating some major changes beginning to develop here. If we look a little bit further off to the east, like Missoula, for example, still looking at mostly rain here, and a lot of this hasn't turned over to snow as we're still pretty well above freezing in a lot of these areas south of the front. So what we'll be expecting as time goes on is we'll start to see the weather really start to transition more to the east towards areas like Minot, for example. We're still dealing with rain, but I think by tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, we'll start to see that snow begin to kick in and maybe even be heavy at times. So hence why we have the advisories and the warnings up. The winter storm watches are in green, by the way, or blue, by the way, excuse me. The green areas are flooding, but in this navy blue color is the winter storm watches, the pink is the winter storm warning, and the purple is winter weather advisories. So like I said, a lot going on over here as time goes on here. If we look at the temperatures based off of our forecasting models here, we're going to see that cold blast coming in. With this part we've been talking about for days. The timing of this was definitely going to be the key to everything. And towards the end is where I started to gain a little bit of confidence, but still was very questionable at this time. So that cold shot starts to come in a little bit further as we head towards the weekend here. By Saturday, we could even see some single-digit temperatures coming into play here. In fact, a few negative temperatures are possible over here towards Great Falls in the early morning hours of Saturday too. So it's gonna get pretty cold here. Nothing too far out of the ordinary, but a little bit earlier than expected for these guys, I would say, over here. Even over towards Washington, parts of Oregon here, we're getting well below freezing here. We're starting to get into the teens over towards North Dakota. And even then that cold air starts to take a deeper dive into South Dakota here. We're starting to flirt with teens, even some of the northern parts of South Dakota. We're getting into the teens here. And this is going to persist for a while as we head into the weekend here. This ridge is going to help keep that cool air out of the southeast. It's really not going to make it much further south than I would say Nebraska and maybe Iowa here at this point. But anywhere north of this line that I'm about to make here, this is where we're going to be dealing with some potentially brutal cold as time goes on here. But if we were to switch this over, and the main thing that we're concerned with at this point is going to be precipitation. We can clearly see this storm really starting to ramp up here as we head into tomorrow afternoon. This low pressure is going to remain relatively weak. This isn't going to be a super stout storm system by any stretch of the imagination. And it's also going to stall out. We saw the stationary front based off the surface analysis there. This isn't really going to go too far here. It's going to be a very slow moving storm. But as time goes on, we'll eventually see this move out to the east here. So by the time we get towards the weekend, storm system will be long out of here. We may see some remnant snow showers flying around here or there around the mountains regions. But outside of that, I wouldn't expect too much to get going here until this new low begins to start on Saturday. A lot of uncertainty still with that one, so we'll be keeping an eye on that one as the next potential wintry system to look at here. Last thing to look at for now with this current storm system will be the snowfall totals. There's a series of models that I'm going to look at, and we're going to do a little comparison here. So I'm going to move my little window up here really quickly, so that way you can see the index here. Areas all the way up into this little bit of a magenta-esque color that's turning a little bit lighter here. We could see up to potentially 20 inches. I do think that's a little bit overkill at this point, but can't rule that out as of right now. We look, some of these models do have a tendency of also overdoing it. If you've been a long time viewer of the channel, you'll see what I'm know what I'm talking about, because we've had this problem last year. But if we were to go over to the next model here, which is the Canadian model, this one has been very much at times a little bit of a dramatic model, if you will, or overproducer or overdoer as far as snowfall is concerned. Same with the GFS. At times you can go really aggressive with this, or you can get next to nothing. So this, just be prepared. This is what we're likely to see throughout the course of the season here. It's interesting once we get towards convective model here. This is the HRRR. We're looking about 48 hours out here. Bullseye definitely shifts a little bit. We see a couple of different bullseyes. For one, we have one over towards Missoula, then we have one towards Great Lakes, or Great, yeah, what, I don't think it's Great Lake, it's Great Falls. I don't know how I got that mixed up. And then over here towards the mountains in Wyoming here is another bullseye. The other models weren't quite as hot on that as the HRRR is, so some key discrepancy points to keep note of here. Also looking at the NAM here. The NAM actually surprisingly is the least aggressive. NAM is very well known for being aggressive with severe weather, but when it comes to snowfall, it's funny that it's a little bit different. Completely different parallel here. So I find that a little bit amusing. NAM 3 kilometer is extremely aggressive across parts of Wyoming here in regards to the mountains here. I think this could be overdone possibly, but we'll have to see how this plays out. Here's a British model that we can look at as well, up to about maybe 2 feet possible here over the course of the next 48 hours. Not out of the question, but 53 inches does seem a little bit extensive in comparison to the last model here. And then here's one of the newest convective models, the RRFSA model. This is still considered as experimental, but it's done pretty well this year, if I were to say so. So I'll just try to start incorporating this a little bit more. But the totals right now, we're seeing about up to a foot, maybe a little bit more than that, about 15, maybe 18 inches tops right now. That seems pretty reasonable for this system. Of course, it could overperform. There are variables with wintry systems, just like there are severe setups. So still a little bit of uncertainty here, but likelihood is going to be that central Montana is going to be a bullseye, and I'm a little suspicious of these mountains over towards western Wyoming as well. It's a little quick video for you guys though, just to keep you guys updated on the current situation. Expect to see a lot more of this during the winter time. This is what we did last year, so hopefully you guys enjoy it and you found it useful. Make sure you hit that like button, make sure you decimate that subscribe button, getting the bell on for all the notifications as well to be updated on every storm, and then also hitting that share button so we can spread the word about the channel. Helps out a lot. But until the next one, you guys take care. Have a good night. It's been Metalhead Weatherman. I'll see you in the morning. I'll see you in the next video.